Slovakia was chosen as it because the people in Slovakia, despite the fact that they're all macho and they've got muscles and they're all mafia and they play ice hockey, they're mentally fucked, and they will do everything the government tells them. Yeah, if the government told them to do handstands and walk on their hands everywhere and wear pink coats, they'd all wear pink coats and walk on their hands everywhere, because communism is still a big problem, and everybody does exactly what they're told, like a good little soldier, because that's what happens after years and years and years of getting hit with a very big hammer. So that's why Slovakia was chosen, because Slovakia would conform, because it's a weak country in terms of national rebellion. It's a weak country. People tend to go with the flow, and that's why the political leaders are the way that they are in Slovakia, because people like strong leaders and they follow strong leaders, because following strong leaders is much easier than being a leader within yourself and doing all the work and studying all the data and doing things. So that's why Slovakia was picked, because it's a very weak nation. And it's interesting that half of the country more than half of the country went to get that tested. That's a very interesting statistic, because there is zero scientific evidence that testing is good and positive, which means that more than half of the country are completely ignorant and have done no research and no study, have not read white papers, have not read scientific documents, and have not balanced an argument from the doctors. So that's very interesting, because if you have read the scientific documents, you realize that there can be absolutely no benefit from this at all whatsoever. It's just something called virtue signaling, which is saying, hey, everybody, look at me. I'm cool. I'm good. I do what I'm told. I'm a nice person. And it's rubbish, because it's got nothing to do with that. Anyway. That's the reason. And now all the other countries will follow. Now we'll have all the other countries one by one lining up to do the same, because Slovakia was first, because once you shoot one person in the head, it makes it easier to shoot all the other people in the head after that. It's a simple process. And this is the totalitarian nature of the system that we live within. And what it means is Slovakia is finished as a country, because all the people will do everything that the government tells them to do now, and there will be zero rebellion, and there will be no stop. Everyone will be locked in their houses now for years. People can expect to be locked in their houses now for 3 to 5 years.
Why?
Why? Because that's what the documents from the World Bank and the IMF and the World Economic Forum say is the right policy in order to get money internationally. In order to get international contracts and money from the IMF and World Bank, you have to lock your population at home. You can go and read the documents. It's on the World Economic Forum website. This is just the beginning. Okay, number one, there's no guarantee that infected people are actually infected. It might all be false positives. False positives are between 10 to 100%. So a minimum of 10% of every test is a false positive. Minimum 10% is a false positive. Now, there's no double check of those tests as far as I'm aware. So the numbers could just be invented and made up. Nobody really knows. And this is just the first test. And as the flu season gets worse, because everyone's wearing a mask, and wearing a mask is really stupid, because you don't breathe and you can't exhale from your body the bacteria that you need to exhale. It only hits the mask and goes back in. It actually makes you sick. And that's why if you look at the statistics across Europe right now, in every place where people wore masks, there are high sicknesses. Yeah. In places where people didn't wear masks, such as Sweden, there's no sickness and zero death. So people are making themselves sick. And if you look at the studies on masks, every study, 100% of all studies on masks say that masks cause disease. So this is it. It's finished. Slovakia is finished as a country. Economically, it will be destroyed. You can expect it to take 3 to 5 years. The World Economic Forum says that the lockdowns will run until 2025. It says it on their website. You can go and read it. And nobody will get out. Sorry. Well, you better order your gym equipment and a lot of food. That's it. It's done.
Mm.
I'll give you a little bit of my opinion. I presented the IMF. I presented the World Economic Forum. There's the Bank of International Settlements. There's the World Bank and their policies, right? I gave you data about the masks. I can pull up the white papers online. It's very easy. There is no information on the other side of that, so that's a 100%. I will win that argument every time, because there's no data to show that masks help at all. There's none. So you know, there is another side, but as far as I can see, the other side is opinion and ignorance. So I mean, there is a level of unknown, a question mark. We're not sure. But I didn't talk about that, right? I just talked about where the money is coming from and how it will be organized, and the fact that the World Economic Forum says that you will be locked down until 2025. And this is the first set of tests. And always, this is human psychology, always with the first test, they make it easy for you, right? Like a drug dealer, you know, the first little bag of drugs is always free, right? Doesn't cost anything. It's just a little bit. You'll be fine. Trust me. I mean, trusting your government is just like trusting your drug dealer, basically. There's very little difference between those two things. Everything that I have said will happen has happened. Everything that I have said will happen has happened so far. And it will continue. I said 2 weeks will become 4 weeks. 4 weeks will become 8 weeks. It'll get worse. People will get locked down. There'll be a second wave. Yeah, the numbers will be fake. The statistics will be fake. The tests won't work. Everything that I've said will happen, happened. Not because I predicted it, because I read the documents that talked about the plan. Right? It's like reading the instructions for cooking, right? You know, step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, step 5. Now, this is test number 1. Your government will come back early next year, give you test number 2. Yeah, and during the flu season, of course. This is to prepare you for how easy it will be to lock down and shut down any parts of the economy at all, and shut down any businesses that protest, basically. You do know that in China there's no lockdown at all right now. You do know that all the companies and all the factories and everything is like at a 100% production, and in large parts of Indonesia it's like that right now. And like it's funny, right? It's funny. People are focused on, oh my God, what's happening here? You look over there, which is 100% production, no lockdown, right? This is just affecting the West and conservative Western economies. So this is economic warfare, organized through the World Health Organization and its United Nations subsidiary organizations. And people are not. Your job is never going to return to normal. You will be locked down at home for most of the next 3 to 5 years, as will everybody else in your country, and everybody will be waiting for the government to change their mind, and it won't happen because you're not paying the government, right? Because who pays you is your master, and we all tend to, praise the great God that gives us money, basically. It's going to get, and the restrictions are going to get harsher and stronger, and more businesses will collapse, and there will not be a turnaround. Did you see, do you remember last week we talked about gaslighting?
Yes.
Well, part of gaslighting is turn on, turn off, turn on, turn off, turn on, turn off, turn on, turn off, creating zero security for people. And this is part of the strategy that is being put in place right now. It is giving you a little bit of freedom to do something, but then taking it away. And then giving you another little bit of freedom and taking it away and saying you can have more freedom. All you have to do is just have a little test. Don't worry, take 10 seconds. It'll be fine. Won't hurt anyone, even though testing children is child abuse, but don't worry about it. Well, I'll forget about that, right? It's like I fast forward in time 2 months. No, fast forward in time 4 months. You will be looking at me going, how did you know? Okay. Because in 4 months' time, you will be sitting in the same place, doing exactly the same thing with exactly the same problem. It will not get better.